Am I the a-hole for not paying for my husband's hospital bill? I, female 31, been with my husband, male 36, for 3 years. We don't share finances, and we each contribute to household expenses equally and individually. He's pretty adamant on being respected when it comes to money, meaning I should not be asking him for money to pay for personal stuff, and the same goes for him, save for when it's an emergency. Last month, I was at the mall shopping for a dress to wear at my sister's wedding, and the money wasn't enough. I called my husband to ask him for money, about $200, but he refused even though he had the money. I wasn't upset. Well, yes, I'm not gonna lie, I was upset about it, because I ended up buying a cheaper dress, but I didn't make a fuss or fight with him for not giving me money. Just a couple of weeks ago, he was involved in an accident. It wasn't serious, but his knee was bad but got worse. He asked if I could help him pay for the hospital bill because I didn't expect to stay longer due to his injury, but I refused. He begged, but I said no was still no. He tried to guilt me into paying by saying that I have money and that is dealing with an emergency. I said his irresponsibility, whether with money or driving, wasn't my problem. He ended up getting help from his mom. In fact, she paid for the entire bill, then grilled me hard about my refusal to pay. She called me a vile witch and said that I was devoid of empathy or any wife material to do this to my husband. I was bothered by her harassment and told my husband to get her to back off, but he sided with her. I had an argument with him about his double standards, where I'm expected to pay for him and him not doing the same for me like the dress incident a month ago. He looked at me in disbelief, called me insane, and said that I was at fault for not helping him, because unlike the dress incident, this was actually an emergency. Even said I stepped out of line to act this petty and vindictive. I walked out of the room to cool off, but it lasted for days and he's still salty about it. Don't even get me started on his mom. Am I the a-hole? I think I was just holding my part of no mixed finances policy. So to provide more details, when I asked him to help pay for the dress, he asked if he'd get the money back, but I said no, because if I had the money and wasn't struggling, I wouldn't have asked for his help in the first place. That is why I said no. Though he said he'd pay me back when he asked that I help with the hospital bill. Am I the a-hole for taking back my PS5 my mom gave to our cousin as a gift? I'm a 19-year-old male. My mother is 57 and my cousin is 13-year-old male. So I waited until 2021 November to try PS5. I've been trying since release. And on the 22nd of November, I finally got one. I was so excited to do everything with this console and couldn't wait that I bought another controller and so many games to have with this baby, even though I took out a bit of my time/savings. But this is also the time when people take Christmas presents into consideration, and I kept this like a present to myself. My cousin, I'll call him Joe, has autism, and I love the little dude. But I need to clarify that he's very spoiled and his parents don't do anything to teach him a lesson. He really wanted a PS5 and threw so many tantrums when he didn't get one. So to keep the peace, my mom took my PS5 when I was at school and hid it from me. I was shocked when I didn't see it there, and I really started to cry as I spent so much money for it. My mom told me that she took my PS5 to calm down my cousin, and that she'll pay me back. And her idea of paying me back is an iPad. I yelled at her for so long, saying how long it took me to get it and save up money for it, and how dare she do that and invade my space. She hung up on me saying I wasn't being myself and giving me time to calm down. But I wasn't ready to calm down. I went to my cousin's house, rang up the doorbell, took my PS5 and games. I forgot to mention she took the games as well. A 300-pound iPad isn't going to cover 700-pound worth of stuff. And then went home. My aunt tried to stop me, saying how this is all my sweet baby wants for Christmas. But I didn't care and drove straight home. My whole family's giving me so much pressure, saying I should give it back as it's not my right to go against my mother's wishes. I do feel kind of bad since his family's not that financially stable. And them buying a PS5, if they can find one, will screw up some stuff. So am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for how I reacted when my boyfriend wanted me to pay half his mortgage but not gain equity in the house? I am a 27-year-old woman and I'm getting to a point in my life where I'd consider home ownership. I have a good job in tech and I'm in a low cost of living area and I'd been seriously shopping for a beginner home for myself. My boyfriend, who is 32, owns a house and we are talking about moving in together. That's something I'd like in some ways. I want to take the next step in our relationship and I'd love to build a home together. But I also have some equity as a personal financial goal, whether that would mean owning a home together with my boyfriend or buying my own starter home. But he already has a home and he's the sole owner. He pays $1,300 a month in mortgage and taxes and $430 in utilities. He wanted me to move in with him and pay half of that. So $650 for the monthly payment and $215 for the utilities. So $865 total. But it'd still be the sole owner. I said that I'd either want to be living somewhere I'd be gaining home equity or establish a rental agreement that is at least as good as my current rental situation, which is allowing me to save for a down payment. And if it's going the rental way, I'd want a lease and all the rights and responsibilities of the lessor, him and the lessee, me, laid out. For example, the maintenance responsibilities being on the landlord, term of occupancy defined, a written agreement on the cost of rent and other monetary responsibilities. And I'd want to compare that to my current lease. My current landlord is very on top of maintenance, charges me $680 a month for rent, all utilities included. So if his lease agreement ended up being $865 monthly and the building is in worse repair, that would be a harder choice. I wouldn't want to raise my rent to live in worse conditions. I'd want a rent price that is in line with the current rental market. I'd estimate the rent he could charge on the open market for a room in his house in its current condition would be about $400 or $500 max. He got really upset, saying that he wanted to make a serious step in our relationship, and I was treating it like business, like I was putting on my work persona. I said that I wasn't trying to treat this like work. I do have a job where I have to be kind of detail-oriented and argumentative, but I was just trying to make good financial choices for myself just like he was doing. I said that honestly, I didn't think it would be a good choice to pay half of his mortgage, but he is the only one gaining equity. Unless there were other terms that made it more like a rental agreement, with me as a tenant, him taking full responsibility for the property and its maintenance, my rights defined, and the price being competitive with the current rental market. He got really frustrated and said I sounded like a gold digger. But I laughed at him and said if I were a gold digger, I'd be living with him for free. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I'm seriously considering extending my current lease. But I know my boyfriend feels upset I took my work approach out around him, instead of talking like it was a relationship talk. Am I the a-hole for how I discussed moving in with my boyfriend? Am I the a-hole for not letting my cousin borrow my wedding dress? 5 years ago, I got married, and I had a costume wedding dress made by my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law has since passed in a car accident. It was so unexpected, and it broke my husband's heart. So now we are saving the wedding dress for my daughter, who was named after my mother-in-law. My cousin Gigi, no direct blood relationship with my mother-in-law, is now wanting to wear my wedding dress. Her mother, and my granny are all on this warpath that this is her dream dress, and I should let her wear it. That it would be a tribute to my mother-in-law. Again, this is my side of the family and no direct relationship to my mother-in-law. Gigi was obsessed with my wedding dress when I had it, and she has already said she wanted to wear it. Gigi is not my size, much larger front and hips, so the dress would have to be majorly altered. My husband said no. He wants to have our daughter wear it when she's grown up, and have it altered for her or turned into a veil. My daughter is under a year, and my family said that's years off, and that I should let them borrow it now. My cousin has turned petty at my refusal, and has disinvited my parents, siblings, and their children. She told us because I'm costing her thousands of dollars because she's had to pay for a dress to look like mine. And she's also mad because I won't lend her my dress to have it copied because I 100% don't trust her with it. My auntie and granny have banned me from their life over this, because it's the one thing my cousin has wanted since she saw me in my wedding dress. I was told if I don't do this, I'm cut off from any events my granny hosts, and my mom is too because she has raised such a selfish and entitled daughter. Am I the a-hole for hiring a babysitter without asking and forwarding the bill to my brother? I, 23 female, have a nephew and niece, 5 and 7 years old. My brother called last week and asked me to take them for 2 days as he and my sister-in-law had a doctor's appointment out of state. I agreed, but warned them that I can only watch the kids Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, I had a bunch of important meetings, and I will be glued to my laptop for hours, unable to check on the kids. He said he got it. Well, Tuesday around 8 p.m., they were supposed to be picked at 9:30 p.m. My brother called and asked me to keep them another day because they got delayed and have not even started driving back. I got pissed off because if I was told earlier, maybe I might have been able to postpone most meetings or even call in sick. However, no one was at work at 8 p.m., and I find it unprofessional to cancel the same day without a really good reason. I told him to come get his kids, and he became very defensive and rude, calling me unsupportive. To be clear, they went for a tummy tuck for my sister-in-law. No real medical emergency. He called mom, but she had already gone to bed, and he had the audacity to tell me to drive 1.5 hours to her house, wake her up, and make her take the kids. I said no. We fought more with my sister-in-law giving her 2 cents in the background as well, before they hung up and stopped picking up till the next day. I found a nice babysitter the next day, thankfully, and because it was last minute, I paid $200 for a few hours. Still mad, I just forwarded a bill to my brother, expecting him to pay. My sister-in-law called and screamed her butt off, calling me a irresponsible witch, because how dare I leave her kids with a stranger? I was in the middle of work still, and hung up on her and just forwarded a bill to her as well. An hour later, my mom showed up at my house and took the kiddos. Now my brother is still refusing to pay, but my mom said I was petty. Things come up, and it was wrong of me not to consult them before hiring a babysitter for so much money. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I don't think I explained well everything because I am still angry. Some facts I missed. I called twice my brother in the morning to inform him of the babysitter. He did not pick up. My mom will work 1 to 2 p.m., and if I had taken the kids to her house, it would have been her neighbor, Marcy, watching them. I start work at 8 a.m., so as you can imagine, I would have had to get the kids up at 4 a.m. and run out the house at 4:30 a.m. to be safe if there is traffic. And that particular day, I worked overtime, so from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If I wanted to save my brother some money, I would have had to screw both with the kids' sleeping schedule and mine. Plus, Marcy was not answering at 9 p.m. We were pretty sure she could take them, but my mom confirmed this only at 7 a.m., which means my workday would have been postponed to at least 10:30 if I was to drop them off with Marcy. Hope this makes sense. Also, I work from home. I was keeping an eye on the babysitter and children. Also to add, my work is productivity-based. I have to file a report every Friday on what I have done and someone goes over it. Some days I work an hour or 2, others I stay 14 hours coding. My mom knows this well, and she argued my meetings can be postponed till the next day, which they could, but it would leave a very bad impression with my superiors, as one of the meetings concerned a promotion I had asked for, and they were reviewing my projects and productivity. I am 23, this is my dream job. Maybe my work would have understood considering how chill they usually are, but I was not taking a chance. My career means a lot to me.
I, 28 female, gave my boyfriend 28 male an engagement ultimatum, and I might be regretting it, and it was compiled by Somali MN. My boyfriend and I are both young professionals in our late 20s, who moved in together 6 months ago after graduating from professional school and relocating to a new city for work. We've been together for 4 years and have had no issues adjusting to living together. We are happy together, we want the same things out of life and take excellent care of each other. The issue is that I have known for a while that he is the person that I want to spend my life with, and I would like to settle down and hopefully start a family soon. I have been in a serious relationship, also lasted 4 years before him, so I know what I'm looking for. On the other hand, my boyfriend is not in the same headspace as me about this for a few reasons. 1, he was a late bloomer when it comes to relationships, and I was his first real girlfriend. And 2, he has a hard time making decisions about everything, from his job to what pair of shoes to buy. When we discuss the future, I am very clear that I'm ready to settle down with him ASAP. He is also very clear that he loves me, he thinks we have a great thing, but he wants to take more time to see where it goes. He also jokes around about how he hasn't banged enough chicks. We had some serious commitment discussions last year when we were deciding where to live after graduating, and I told him that I wasn't going to try and relocate to the same city as him unless we are engaged. He didn't propose, and I stuck to my guns. Despite very slim odds, we both coincidentally found jobs in the same city, halfway across the country. So we moved there together and got an apartment together. Now I'm starting to get fed up and hurt about this situation. It was causing a lot of stress for me, and it was the main point of contention in our relationship. So in September 2017, I told him that when our lease is up in April 2018, I was going to move out unless we were engaged. He hasn't made a decision ever in his life without a deadline, so I figured this would help nudge him in the right direction. However, I'm starting to worry that he's not going to propose, mostly because he's telling me that he's not going to propose. Now, I'm regretting this ultimatum, and I think maybe I was stupid for ruining a good thing by trying to rush things, but it's been 4 years. Also, I worry that if he does propose, it will be forced and he'll always regret it. On the other hand, I gave him basically the same ultimatum last year during our job search, and he made it very clear that he'd rather end up in different cities, which knowing us would likely mean breaking up than get engaged. I'd like to think that I'm being rational and empowered here, but am I being stupid and desperate? If he doesn't propose by April, should I stick to my guns and move out? Basically sacrificing this great relationship because it wasn't moving at my pace. I'm happy to answer any questions too. This situation is getting so stressful, and I appreciate anyone who takes the time to read this and give advice.
Am I the a-hole for refusing to put my packaged snacks back in the fridge per my husband's request? Hi, I, female 34, am diabetic, and keeping packaged snacks near me is essential because oftentimes I get low blood sugar due to issues I have with appetite. I don't eat lunch or dinner properly. My brother-in-law and his pregnant wife moved in with us a month ago. The issue began when my sister-in-law started eating my snacks that I usually keep inside the fridge. I tried buying more snacks, but sometimes they run out, and I end up drinking water mixed with sugar in the middle of the night because I don't have anything else to eat, and my husband won't go out to the store and get me anything. I told my husband, and he told me to be patient with his brother's wife because she's pregnant and is considered sort of sick, so she needs to be cut some slack. I had it, to be honest. I moved all my snacks into the bedroom and inside a box just to keep them safe. Sister-in-law said it was strange that I no longer buy snacks, but I told her that I actually still do. I just keep them safe in my room so no one can touch them. She side-eyed me, then an argument ensued after my husband and his brother came home. My husband berated me for being rude to sister-in-law and childish for moving the snacks and keeping them in the bedroom. I told him why I did that though. He knows what was up, but he said I overreacted and that there was no harm in sharing. He demanded I put whatever snacks I have back into the fridge and stop acting like a child. I said that I won't, and if a sister-in-law and her husband get upset, then they need to understand that I'm diabetic and need those snacks essentially. He yelled in my face, calling me childish, then walked out. Brother-in-law and sister-in-law are cold-shouldering me, and my husband keeps pushing for me to put the snacks back into the fridge where they belong, or he won't speak to me as well. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for refusing to kiss my husband's wound? Background. Whenever my 9-year-old son gets injured or hurt, I normally kiss the injured area as a way to comfort him and make the pain go away. I also use it as a source of strength, and he certainly sees it this way. I do not kiss the skin directly, but after I cover the injured area, obviously. My 35-year-old husband got into an accident and had an wound, on the left part of his chest. He has zero pain tolerance, but it takes medication for it. The other day, I was helping change his wound dressing and clean up the wound. Before I could place the new wound dressing, he asked me to kiss it. I refused. It just didn't feel right. His wound was still fresh, and there was already antibiotic ointment applied there, so I just didn't want to do it. He insisted and I kept declining. He then got mad and said that I'd do this with my son. Why not him? I suggested that we just let it go and proceeded to apply the new wound dressing. He stopped me and went on a long vent about how I don't care about him and that I clearly feel grossed out by him to not want to kiss his wound. I thought that was silly and told him to let me finish changing the wound dressing, but he started arguing and had me leave the room. I left and he kept sulking for the rest of the night. He then told my son that mommy doesn't love daddy and don't want to kiss his wound so he could get better. I was floored. My son actually came at me for upsetting my husband and just made me feel bad all around. I kept thinking that I caused this situation and should have just done what he wanted me instead of creating this tension in the house. So, what do you think? Am I the a-hole for not canceling my bachelorette trip because of my sister-in-law's emergency? Last weekend was my bachelorette trip. The hotel my friends and I would stay at was booked. We had already made so many arrangements, but I didn't cancel any of that after my sister-in-law had a health emergency and was rushed into hospital. She had a heart attack 2 days before I'd leave for the trip. For context, my sister-in-law and I have always had a very bad relationship because she has been racist towards me. She has insulted my 6-year-old son whom I have from another marriage. She has urged her kids to bully my son, and she claims that if her and my fiancé's mother was still alive, she'd make sure I'd never get married to my fiancé. She's also tried to get my fiancé to hook up with one of her friends in order to break us up. My fiancé is low contact with her, but to this point, I'm completely no contact. And at the wedding, I'm simply gonna tolerate her for my fiancé's sake. When she had a heart attack, my fiancé told me to immediately cancel the trip and plans because it wouldn't be right of me to celebrate while his sister is at the hospital. I told him that I'm not gonna cancel a trip my friends and I have already paid for a woman who would probably celebrate on my hospital bed if I were in her position. He said I'm right, but I should cancel because regardless, it's gonna be a bad look for his relatives if I disrespect his sister like that. He said he doesn't really care. He just wants to avoid the drama of his family. I told him I honestly don't give a damn about what his relatives will think, because all of them were bystanders not doing anything or saying anything while she was horrible to me the whole time. He supported my decision, but after that, his relatives were of course mad at me and cussing me out, and threatened to not attend a wedding. Am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for no longer bringing dinner to my wife after she claimed I never cook? I work at a nice restaurant as a cook, and every day when I get off from work, I always cook dinner for my wife and our 2 kids, 8 male and 6 female, at the restaurant before coming home. The only time I don't cook for them is on weekends when I'm off, and that's when my wife does the cooking. We usually trade off who makes breakfast and lunch for the kids every day, but for the week, I'm always the one bringing home dinner. On weekends, we sometimes get together with friends, and they come over to the house. My wife usually cooks, and I help set the table and clean afterward. One of her friends, Stacy, asked how come I never do any of the cooking and it is always on my wife all the time making meals for the kids, especially when I'm a cook myself. Instead of correcting her, she sort of laughed and went along with it, making jokes about, you know how it is. And Stacy laughed because her ex-husband was the same way, and then sort of ripped on me in a joking way about how I better buck up before I become an ex too. My wife just said, we'll see if he actually listens and starts cooking for once, joking about all the time I spend in the kitchen at work but won't do the same at home. It really pissed me off. I'm not the husband that just doesn't do anything after I'm home from work. I cook food for her and the kids at work, and on top of that, I make separate dishes for each of them, what she wants and what the kids want. All that after standing on my feet all day. We talked about it once they left because I don't appreciate being told I'm not doing something she knows for a fact I do. She didn't want to apologize for it because it was all just to be a funny joke. Even after telling her about how it hurt my feelings being put down like that, my wife said she felt like she had to go along with the joke so there wouldn't be any awkward vibes, whatever that means. But I said, fine, if she can't apologize for something that was mean just so she could laugh along with her friends, then I won't keep doing something she already claims I don't do. So, for the past week, I've only brought home dinner for our kids and she's had to make her own food. Now she's mad that I'm refusing to feed her over what happened instead of letting it go. But I can't help but feel mad about being made fun of like that when I'm busting my ass off to provide for my family and still making sure they have food on the table every evening. She just thinks I'm an a-hole for how I'm reacting when she's already tired at the end of the day but still having to make food for herself. So, am I the a-hole?